It's called the key is POAP, the bookmarks of your life. It's really good. And in regards to actually deploying like the technical side of things, I've been working on my coding and working on learning the language of the blockchains. I can launch my own coins now. I can deploy tokens and I can deploy DAOs technically. So in regards to when it comes to actually the technical launch of this stuff, we're covered. I'm creating coins and tokens for fun at this point. It's so interesting. A couple more examples I saw was a community joined called Lit What the Fuck. And the first thing they did was send half of their tokens as a donation to Snoop Dogg, which caught his attention. And he was just like, oh, okay. So then he came on board as an advisor to the project because he owned half the supply. So he basically came up with this plan. He redistributed all the coins that were sent to him into liquidity pools so that people could buy more of the coins for themselves. And then, but when they reached 100,000 holders, they signed an author and published the first ever book on the blockchain, which literally you can interact with as an NFT on your screen and turn the pages as a 3D model. And then they just dropped it. So they obviously, when you own a DAO, you have all the addresses of all of your token holders. So you send them a gift. So they sent every single Lit token holder a copy of the first ever blockchain book. They're now worth about 10 Ethereum each. And that was just a free gift from the community. And now the community can flip that for 10 ETH is about 36 grand.
Wow.
So
amazing. We could send like half of ours to Oprah, right? Maybe get her interested.
Joe Dispenza or something.
Yeah, there's definitely like looking at because of celebrities, because everything on the blockchain is visible, you can see who's who. So if you want to send something to someone, you just can, it'll appear in their wallet. Like with Snoop Dogg, maybe they got lucky, but who knows? But everything's visible and it becomes easy to do that. There's a few projects I've worked on recently where in the marketing I've said, can we put 5% away in the budget? Because that 5% we should just send to random people, just drop it to random people, just throw it out there, get a random wallet generator address and just throw coins out into the wild and see. So on. A couple of times it's worked and people have come back and been like, well, I found this in my wallet this morning. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
It's new ways of marketing. You can land in you can get a notification in everybody's wallet without even needing their permission. It's interesting.
That's amazing. Right. So my action point list off this is to kind of go back through the recording, to YouTube it, to also to make like a action point list of what I understand from our discussion, which I will then share with you, Danny, because you can correct me on the points that need correcting. And at the same time, I'll get David's input into it as well. And then we can circle back and plot the way forward. But I think we want to keep this kind of moving. And I would say if we have that within 2 weeks, I think that would make sense, because I can pull this together within a few days. Initially share it with you, and then if we then say in 2 weeks time on a Sunday, if we're all available, we should do the same thing again, and if David's available, he might be on that call as well. Because I think the other thing I want to start doing is by that time we should have something sufficiently developed that we could have a conversation with Alex.
Yeah.
So that would then be the next stage. Okay, well, we're happy with this initial draft. Now we involve Alex. Let's see what he thinks. Let's see what it's going to cost us, from his time point of view, because as a business, we have to think about that as well. But at the end of the day, it's important to get it right. So I think we're more likely to get it right through the likes of Alex than we will by waiting for Pankaj and team. We've still got to get Pankaj to do what they promised to do in the first instance, but we do have a website.
Yeah, Alex is good. Alex is fantastic with websites. He's a WordPress partner, so he knows all that code, the coding side of things, and he builds WordPress plugins as well. But he specifically what he's good at is putting Web3 integrations onto websites. So making it possible to connect up your MetaMask to a website and sign in via your wallet, as opposed to a username and password, which obviously a username and password you put on a centralized server somewhere that someone owns. With a Web3, your wallet address is unique to you. so we can create a Web3 sign-in as opposed to a username and password, as well, or as well as, not opposed to, as well as. I got a little bit radical decentralization there. Do excuse me. No usernames or passwords.
Oh
But
my God.
The technical cost of tokenization is about $500. I'd cover it in my when I deploy it. Basically, if I create technically the token, I pay the gas whilst creating it. There's only a one-off cost of creation after that. But basically, once we've decided on the total amount of tokens, how the supply will be distributed, how many, like, you may want to keep 5% back for yourself between the two of you. You may want to put, make allocations of how many you want to go certain where. As soon as that's ready, it literally costs about $500 in gas to deploy a token at whatever supply. That's a one-off technical cost. And at that point, then split the tokens as you need them to be across wallets, and then just get ready for people to come on board to the website, choose to buy 10,000 tokens, and then you're ready to transfer them to them.
That sounds amazing. And we would definitely reimburse you for that $500 or whatever. It's not a problem.
Whatever the cost.
It's actually quite fine at the moment, because any gas costs that I pay are tax deductible. And unless I can get to Portugal before April, I need to spend as much gas as possible.
All right. So, but we'll always, just let us know. So this sounds amazing. I'm very excited. And when I ever get like the chills, I know that that's something important. And your conversation, I got that feeling, where the hairs stand up. So I know that it's fast though. It seems like it's something that you go to 0 to 100 in like 2 weeks or a month. You can really get traction around this. Is that correct? Am I right? It's like speed things up in this virtual.
Yeah. Because there's every chance, as well as we mentioned before, that there's obviously the space right now is unregulated. So there's every chance that by accident someone buys a lot of your coin and pumps the value of it, but completely again, without your knowledge, and so on and so forth, like that. And when that happens, that gets things moving very fast, not ignoring any financial pump and dump that occurs by someone picking up and trying to increase the value of their bags. Usually when things like that happen, as a consequence, you get a lot more attention very, very fast. It happened with a currency called Shiba Inu. That was what I paid for my last reading in. They went from 300,000 holders to 1 million holders in 3 weeks. But it took them 6 months to get to 300,000 holders. But at that point, someone just bought a load of them, and then obviously just listed whatever the tokens at a higher price, and it brought so much more attention into the currency that now it's weird that a stupid, silly coin that's worthless, that's named after a dog, is now holding value, because there's now over 1 million people invested in it. They're like, no, we're not letting this fail.
I don't even know.
That's what it brings.
Access my Shiba Inu. I don't even know. I'm just leaving it until I get some tutoring around what to do with it. It's just sitting in my MetaMask. And then that other one you gave me, the sandwich, like NFT or whatever, it opens. It's like hard to find these things. So is it better to work on your computer or your phone when you're doing to find?
Computer. Definitely. So if you go to OpenSea, sign in with your MetaMask, the NFT I sent you is in your hidden tab. If you click unhide, it'll make it visible in your public wallet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's sit right now on things.
But what I'll do is some of my friends in America, actually in Colorado, have prepared a really amazing guide for this like space. And it's really it's very, very like read it to me like I'm 5. It's brilliant. And it covers all the basics. I'll send it to you. It's all the basics of like how to like functionally use a MetaMask, how to how to log in and out of sites, how to disconnect when you're done so that the site's not then connected to you when you leave. Like it goes through all of that stuff so that you know how to use the space. It's really good. These friends actually, they came from they were all venture capital students. They were all like at business school, But obviously over the last 2 years, what even is studying venture capital anymore? So they were just kind of like, cool, we can learn to do this and we can beg and borrow for a job at JP Morgan maybe one day, or they could literally just do it themselves. So they started a DAO called Platoon, which is like capital and alpha for projects, which is being run by a bunch of 23-year-olds who got rich in the last 12 months. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to be venture capitalists. Now they are. It's crazy.
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
Hopefully Elevated Planet we can do some of that stuff too. Like, how do you go wrong when you have, you're a venture capitalist, or you're one of those people that, are in the investment markets? I mean, that's where the money's at, and I don't mean that like from a greed perspective, but you need money to elevate the planet. You need to elevate other people to elevate the planet. And how do you do that?
Believe it or not, the person who wrote this guide that I'm about to send you is very, very big on venture capital, crypto, and like this spiritualism, mysticism, and so on. Like in that, I'm part of that DAO that they formed, and they have like a whole spirituality section in their Discord with like numerology guides and all kinds of stuff. They're very into it. They might be worth getting a meeting with sometime. As well, because they're a combination of a few different. They might be nice for some advice as well. In particular, when it comes to actually using your tokens to raise funds, they might know some circles or certain communities that you could essentially just get a certain community to buy X amount of token as your project as a fundraise. Because all they want to do is make it worth more money so they can sell it for more. There's no equity involved, and it's a nice process.
How do we bundle Elevated Planet like as an entity to be able to make these, I want to call them deals, or put us in a space where it's like, instead of individual, it's Elevated Planet, right? So what do we need to do to be a collective to do some of this stuff?
One thing that it could be quite good is having an Elevated Planet wallet. So set up a MetaMask, you and John, the only ones who know the seed phrase, that's the Elevated Planet wallet. And then therefore, if you were to sign a smart contract, you could sign it using the Elevated Planet wallet. And therefore there's a record of deal there under Elevated Planet. Other than that, like a lot of legal agreements still carry forward. If you were like wanting to bring like someone into the fold, like could still get them to sign a contract. It could still hold ground, but definitely having an Elevated Planet wallet would allow you to operate as Elevated Planet on the blockchain as opposed to operating individually. Still have your individual accounts, but consider having that Elevated Planet one, because also as well, like you might want an Elevated Planet vault, an Elevated Planet collection of your own sometime, because you could collect a series of like, say for example, those like books. So you get some books by some certain authors, or you get some pieces of art by certain artists that represent certain spiritual things, like fractal art and things like that represent all the different shapes of the different dimensions. And someone like Alex Moss, for example, owns loads of land in Decentraland and Sandbox and these big metaverses, which are becoming quite popular. So that's when you have someone on board who owns land and builds on that land and say, hey, fancy putting on a metaverse event. And then it's not just a speaking event. People come and actually they'll look at your vault, your collection while you're there as well. But that's obviously another thing of Alex Moss, is he owns a lot of metaverse land that could be utilized for events and situations. There's method to asking him to get involved as well, because of those connections as well.
Yeah.
You set up remember Farmville? Do you remember when everyone got obsessed with Farmville back in like 2007, 2008?
Right.
Where they're like farming games, but they're on chains. So you set up your farm and you farm your resources, but then you can literally go to the in-game marketplace and you can sell your corn or your other crops to other people, and like for real world money. And blockchain gaming is amazing for that. Actually profiting off your video games, it's unreal. It's going to change. That's what I mean. But the same story is true there in every example, in gaming, in hip hop, and in sport, which is your players, your community, your fans, are the ones taking financial ownership, not anything. And that's basically the underlying point of any idea any DAO or any token, is you're putting that financial power below as opposed to above. And when you're thinking about how to act, you're thinking about making a business decision, that, factor that in always. Is it's kind of like every decision now would be like, it has to give value to your token holders, to your DAO stakers, because the more value you give them, obviously, then the more value they'll give you.
I think if I take this away now and break this down and create the YouTube videos from it, we have our plans, and I shall literally draft out something which is going to be action points. I go to Danny just to make sure I haven't missed the point. Once we're comfortable that I'm on the right track and with your guidance, then we share that with Jolie, because then that's something for you to look at, which will be a bit more accurate than my first draft. And with David as well, because David may well have some ideas around this as well from his experience. And then we can sort of like in 2 weeks' time, we can make some firm commitment to a point where we could then approach Alex and get him to kind of think this through as well with us.
Danny, would you be willing to help us like set up our whatever you call it, our Elevated Planet wallet? That's it.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so wow, this is amazing. It's like such a learning curve. It's exciting to move into the future. Yeah, so Danny, this is amazing. I feel like we're with like crypto genius, you know what I mean? I think we're lucky we've like hit the pay dirt here with just this futuristic energy that we need to really propel Elevated Planet into the future. So I'm really grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you. Like with using a few things, I will see a couple of downsides just because everything's not all sunshine and rainbows with the blockchain. Right. Every time you make any transaction on the Ethereum blockchain, you use about as much energy as it takes to power a house for a family of 4 for 24 hours. Every action and transaction burns energy so much. So one of the big sort of things in the technology is to scale it is bringing in layer 2s. And in the market, you're going to hear so much about layer 2s. You're going to hear less about Ethereum, which is your layer 1. That's your base layer. That's your completely decentralized settlement. There's your gold, is the best way I can think about it. Layer 2s are where you're going to have your dollars that are backed against your gold, your pounds that are backed against your gold. You're going to have countries move in, and they're going to create things like the US dollar coin and the Brit coin, and they're going to be on layer 2s. And I definitely think if anyone, because there's a lot of reserve about energy usage on the blockchain. Those layer 2s are completely sort of carbon neutral. They've been built to solve the problem of energy usage. And Disney just launched one that's got their funding. Again, it's a decentralized chain, which is weird for Disney to fund something that they can't then own. So Disney must have got something in their heads with it. But they've just funded one called Immutable. And they're releasing a series of old Spider-Man covers as NFTs on Immutable. And Immutable is a layer 2. It exists on top of Ethereum, but everything's there's no gas, so there's no transaction fees, and there's also no carbon impact, climate impact whatsoever. That is going to be what 2022 brings to the scene and gets mass adoption rolling, because right now it's uncomfortable making those transactions knowing the energy you're burning. So as soon as people start using those layer 2s, then things will start to get a little bit easier. And that might be something that people may question you when you tell people that you're launching tokens, and you tell people that. People may say, but what about the energy usage? The best response I've found is that, well, that energy usage is a problem. So technologies have been built to solve it. And that's what we take advantage of. We take advantage of the technologies that are able to use these in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. But right now on layer 1, every time we send to one another, just like that's the energy cost to the earth.
How? I mean, to the earth by using the web or this wallet is pulling energy?
Yeah, so the blockchain itself it uses a system called proof of work to make sure that it can never ever be falsified. Now, to me, the energy cost is kind of worth it when you consider that Google, Amazon, and countries use way more than the blockchain does. But proof of work requires intense computer power to solve the code that can then process a transaction truthfully. So that's the sort of thing. Now they're moving to Ethereum itself is moving to a much more energy efficient system, and layer twos, which is being built on, are also massively more energy efficient. But anytime we use MetaMask and send, say, Ethereum to one another using that layer one, I try and keep it down to like, I'll try, if I have to send 10 transactions, I'd try and say, can I just send one big one? Because then you're only sending one transaction and you're not making 10 times the energy cost. And I'm always looking at new technologies and new ways to reduce energy usage on chain. Yeah,
Right.
Just thought it wasn't worth giving all that good stuff without at least mentioning.
Yeah, no, it is worth.
Yeah.
No, I'm pleased you mentioned that, because again, it's another layer of understanding for us about where the perceived stumbling blocks are, but also where they're being resolved already. So, you know, it's important.
That's why the lingo comes in handy as well, because some people will still view NFT as a bit of a dirty word, because they're like, how much did you destroy the planet to get that Bored Ape? Right. And it's like, well, that's why if you don't call it an NFT, you use digital assets and use tokens, you sort of can navigate through those potential conflicts there. But I think the next year, those layer twos, in particular the ones Disney have launched, Immutable. I'm also I'm invested quite heavily in Immutable. As soon as I saw Disney's money going their way, I thought my bloody money's going that way as well. So Immutable is one that I think is going to be good. And I think in 2022 we're going to start moving away from transacting on layer one because of that energy cost, and we're going to start moving to layer twos, so which obviously have no energy cost and are much better for everybody. And I don't think we'll be able to get mass adoption until it's climate friendly either.
Good though, because in 2 weeks' time, we can have something that we can all get behind. It sounds exciting, and it does make sense on a lot of levels. It's just kind of getting used to the principle of it. I am excited about the idea, and I think that what you're telling us makes so much sense. To run it alongside a standard platform as well, that people do get and do understand, and then we will find as time goes by that more people, you'll start off with 90% sort of like standardized, 10% token, and in a couple of years' time it'll be 90% token, 10% standard.
This is awesome. I have no idea. I feel like very much so an infant. I can't walk and talk in this land, but hopefully I can grow into it. I'm just math in me, and this seems like it involves some type of digital math. Scary. I mean, a little bit intimidating.
Yes. Actually, I'll be interested to know what Chris Sykes would make of it.
Yes.
He's the fellow who runs 365 pin code for Danny's benefit. And him and Suzanne, his wife, and she's genius as well in terms of building businesses. But his whole world is math. It's numbers, and he is a genius. That's the only way to put it. So it's interesting, as we develop this, because they are involved in our business as well. They help to make us who we are, as much as like Jole's connections to the higher realms also made us who we are. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm loving it. So thank you, Danny.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do great things, change the world a little bit.